So you're getting into real estate and you decide to partner with friends or family, or you want to create a partnership. What could go wrong? Well, one of the biggest challenges is creating partnerships in real estate. The reality is the majority of partnerships actually end in dissolution or lawsuit. So let's talk about why this happens, and let's make sure that we can set up some boundaries for you so that it doesn't happen. Partnerships can be a great way to succeed. The challenge is setting up the partnership correctly and having the right expectations of each other when you're trying to create this partnership. So one of the first things you always want to think about is, what do you bring to the table and what does the other person bring to the table? This is first and foremost as to understand what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are their strengths, and what are their weaknesses. If your strengths are both the same, you're gonna be lopsided and there's gonna be a weakness in the business model because the things that you don't like to do are gonna need to be done anyways. So understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are is important, and I would recommend first thing you do is create an organization chart, or we call it an org chart, and that's how you can determine what roles need to be filled for this business. Because make no mistake, whether you're buying a rental property, flipping properties, whatever it is, you have a business, and with that business, you need to have an org chart. Next thing you need to have is, what is the expectations? So what I mean by that is, what is your expectation of this partnership and what is their expectation? Now, you may be thinking that this person is going to be doing all the work and you are just going to supply the money. And maybe they're thinking that yes, you're supplying the money, but you're going to be doing this 50-50. You always want to make sure that you understand what is the expectation of the other partner to begin with, because that is something that's very, very important when it comes to time commitment. Maybe you both have other jobs and maybe you only have a couple hours a day, but somebody is going to have to bear the weight of dealing when issues arise with the situation, because you're always going to have issues, especially if you're both brand new. And if you're both brand new, my next question is who knows what they're doing? Two people that are brand new, that are going in partnership together, is not always the best case scenario, because somebody has to know what's coming around the next corner. That may be a coach, it may be a mentor, or one of them needs to be more experienced, because you don't want two people that don't know what they're doing just kind of going around in circles. Next thing you want to think about is, what is the expected exit time frame? You may be thinking that you're going to do this deal and you're going to be out of it in 6 months. They may be thinking it's going to be a 3-year play. Different expectations because you didn't discuss them in the beginning. And again, partnerships can be great, but communication can be something that lacks. Now, if you're thinking of going in partnerships with family, again, wins as a family can be awesome. Everybody wins, everybody's happy, the family's doing great, you and your cousin go into partnership together, everyone's getting along. But when things don't go right, that's when there's challenges. You ever try to go to Thanksgiving dinner or a holiday dinner and now there's a money issue going on, which normally that's what it is. It's over money is what causes most dissolution of partnerships, because they don't talk correctly about it. Now, the next challenge is talking about the business partner's spouse. If there is a spouse, you want to make sure that they understand what is going on in the partnership, and you want to bring them into the conversation. You want to talk about what is the best case scenario. Then you want to talk about what is the worst case scenario, and then where you think you'll be. So again, a lot of times we want to sell the other person on pie in the sky and what the best case could be. The problem is it doesn't always happen that way. And what happens then is you start losing trust. When you lose trust, that is not a good position to be in. So you always got to make sure that you understand where you're at, what the expectations are, and what is best case scenario, what is worst case scenario, and where you expect it'll be. And this is when you have those conversations. Now, if you're gonna be in a partnership, I recommend that you create what's called a board of directors, where once a month, once a quarter, once a week, whatever the velocity is that you're operating, you get together from a higher level, CEO level conversation, and you talk about what is the goals, what is the money in the bank, what is the P&L statement, are you on track, are you off track, and bring the spouses into this meeting. If they have an issue or they have a concern, this is where you talk about it. This is where you have the conversation and you make sure that they have a say. Maybe they think you're spending too much time. That's when the other partner can go, because a lot of times the problem is not with the two partners. A lot of times it's the spouses, or maybe one person's single, the other person gets married, and now that spouse has a problem because they don't understand the relationship or the business partnership that you have. And one of the last things you always want to talk about is the divorce. If you guys have to separate and you have to part ways, What happens to the asset? What happens to the money invested? How do you handle the dissolution or the divorce of the business partnership? Now, the reason this is very important to do it in the beginning is if you don't do it when things are calm and things are good, how do you think it's gonna happen in the heat of battle when money is needed, things are time critical, and now you're asking for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and the other person says, I didn't know this was gonna happen, I don't have that money, I wasn't expecting it. This is not the time to have the conversation. So you always wanna make sure that you have these types of conversations before, that if you have to put in money and you're not the money person, how are you compensated? Do you get percentage in the deal? Do you get offset in ownership rights? What happens to your money? Are you paid on the backside? These are conversations you want to have now because it will save the relationship. If it's a personal relationship or a friendship, it'll save that on the back end. So always remember, friends and family partnerships are great, but they can also suck at the same time if they're not treated correctly. And you gotta get the hard conversations out in the beginning so that everyone is on the same page so that down the road, you can have a great relationship. Sometimes I also recommend doing a JV on one deal. If you do a JV on one deal, see how it goes. If it went well, then do another one, but just do it a deal at a time so that you have the same expectation. And if things change, you change it on the next deal. You don't change it in the middle of the deal. If you agreed to it and they agreed to it, you got to agree to what you said, and you want to make sure that both parties agree that whatever we write down, that is what we're going to do and we're going to stick to it. That's your role, this is my role, I'm doing these tasks, you're doing those tasks, and if you don't do that, how do we dissolve it and I buy you out, etc. So hopefully this helps. Again, partnerships are great, but you always want to be careful. And I talk about partnerships and other types of entities in other videos, so check out my channel. And again, hopefully this helps you understand the value of partnerships, but also the critical safety of putting these measures in to protect you, your money, your investment, and the relationship with the other person. So I'm Steve Rozenberg, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for watching. Please make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel. And if this is relatable to you, leave me a comment. I'd like to hear from you.